It's Tuesday, the 20th of May, 2025. Welcome to Daybreak Live right here on Dominion Television. Of course, you do know that this program is the flagship show of the station where we inform, entertain, educate, inspire, and we keep you abreast of everything happening in the polity. My name is Samson Balogun. It promises to be an interesting time with you today. And guess who is here with me? My African queen, Pat Aido.
Well, good morning, Samson, and welcome to the show. You look absolutely good and
Thank
nice
you.
this morning. Well, we are going to roll the show together today. Thank you so much for joining us again and again, and we'll say welcome.
Pat, I must say you smell nice today.
Yes, I must, because I am a lady. We always take so much thinking about it, and thank you so much. That's a compliment from you.
You're welcome.
Heading somewhere or?
Well, you're welcome. So we begin by telling you that an health expert has warned that the excessive use of perfumes may cause cancer. And
that takes us to, away from that, we'll still let you know what is happening in Borno State and the northern part of Nigeria, where the governor, Baba Gana Zulum, declares Monday prayer day over resurgency.
For me, that's a really interesting one right there from Borno State. And we will be looking at the controversial report by the National Bureau of Statistics on inflation versus cost of living in Nigeria.
Yeah, we will be joined by a tax expert, Dr. Samson Olalere, who will be telling us more on this. And Samson, good morning once again.
Good morning to you.
You made mention of something. I was actually asking if that's a compliment or you're heading somewhere, and that's me smelling nice.
I was actually heading somewhere, but then don't take it.
I shouldn't take it personally.
Don't take it personal. You actually smell nice, but then they are talking about the excessive use of perfumes. As much as it can help you boost your confidence, improve your personal scent, it's actually good to know that there are also the negative parts to use of perfumes, especially in a country like Nigeria, where in some cases we have adulterated products. And then you begin to wonder what exactly, how do Nigerians get to know if this is actually adulterated or is actually original?
Well, I think there are some content or components that's been put into perfumes when making it. And I think parabens is there, aluminium is there, and triclosan is there. So if you want to get your perfume, this is what you do. Maybe you can read through, not, oh, you smells nice, oh, what's the name of that perfume you're wearing, and you dash off straight to what's it called, a store to get it. No, check for some of this content I just mentioned. I think there are 4 like that. We have aluminium, parabens, and triclosan, and there's another one which I will mention if I remember. So smelling nice is good, but then you need to take into cognizance of those elements I just mentioned. So because
are you even aware that some Nigerians will use about 2-3 perfumes as they go?
They just want to.
They'll just mix it up, spice it up like that. 1, 2, 3, 4.
They don't want that particular person to know the
you
actual.
won't even be able to guess which of the products they actually used. And then for me, I think that's an abuse, if you want to put it that way, because using 3, 4, 5 products at a go, it's more or less like abusing the use of perfume. As much as you want to leave a lasting impression, you want to boost your confidence, you want to smell nice everywhere, you should be considerate of your personal health.
Well,
which is
some of the risk for ladies or women that wears perfume, this irregularity in your in your menstrual cycle, and fertility issues and early puberty are part of the risk that you get when you abuse,
and also perfume. You must also understand the fact that while using perfume, most of the times when you use strong perfumes, it irritates others too. There are some people who are actually sensitive to the use of perfume, and then one they realize that your perfume is too strong, they probably might just leave the room for you, or they complain about it. And it shouldn't get to a stage where people complain about your perfume.
You sneeze. It should be, well, at least it should be not too harsh like that. When you use a perfume, it's just, oh, you smell nice, but not the other way around where you sneeze, you feel uncomfortable, you were just too sensitive to that perfume. Oh, somebody like me,
when your perfume contributes to indoor air pollution, that becomes a problem. You have to understand that at every point in time when you are choosing a brand of perfume to use, you must also consider people who are going to be close to you. I understand that some people are looking for perfumes that will last 24 hours. Some are looking for that of 72 hours. The more concentrated these perfumes are, the worse it becomes when it comes to polluting the air. Some people might not just like it, so you have to put them into consideration too. And that takes us to Borno State this morning.
Yes, Borno State, where the governor, Babagana Umara Zulum, declared Monday, that was yesterday, for fasting and prayer.
Wow.
I mean, some people have been, what is the efficacy of such measure?
I mean, I'm totally disappointed that we still have this kind of situation in Nigeria. Why
are you disappointed?
I'm very, very disappointed.
Everyone with different opinion and views.
The truth is, I'm not condemning what they do, but I'm just disappointed that in a country like Nigeria, in this age, we are still resorting to prayer for things common sense will do. Take, for example, we know exactly what is going on in Borno State. We know that they are having challenges as regards security. We have security personnel in Nigeria. All we have to do is to, do intelligence gathering and then fix the situation. But then we have resorted to prayer, which for me, I think 99.9% of what God can do, He will not do, because He has given man common sense. So it's no rocket science. It's just for me, it's a way of telling the government, look, do the right thing. You don't have to subject the people to fasting and prayers when the country is hard enough. It's not the fault of the people, actually. It's the fault of the government for not providing adequate security. These are things the government can actually nip in the bud, and then they'll move on.
Well, I am not saying it that way. I am saying it as an aim to unite residents in a collective spiritual effort to seek divine intervention for peace and stability.
I'm still sorry to disappoint you that since religion came to Nigeria, how well has Nigeria developed? That's the question. Many a times you realize the fact that most Nigerians have been pinned to the corner of religion. They have been made to believe that what is happening in Nigeria is God's fault, whereas bad leadership has actually...
you were talking about some things put in place. We have the JTF rather. We have JTF there. Vigilante, so many operation outfit had been designed for this. And then, since that is not working.
So prayer is the next thing to go. Well, I'm not saying they shouldn't pray. I'm just saying there are so many other things Nigeria can actually do to put an end to. See, in fact, educating and counter radicalization is one thing we should be doing right now. If there are people who are actually willing to surrender and not be a member of Boko Haram anymore, I think counter-radicalization
we've been seeing them, and they are being rehabilitated and reintegrated into society. But then, are we sure of them laying down their weapons?
Some are actually doing that, and some are willing to do it. Don't forget, this is not the first time that agitators are actually laying their weapons in Nigeria. It happened in the South at a point when the Niger Delta crisis actually erupted back then. And then at the point this President Umar Musa Yar'Adua, the late president, came on board and said, look, if you are willing to lay down your weapons, the government is ready to work with you, rehabilitate you, reintegrate you back into the society, and then we'll see how that goes. I think it worked at the time, because many of the people who are actually leaders of the men at the time, most of them are doing fine in the society right now. And I don't think we have had any form of negative news from their hand as we speak. So it means that... So
you feel that same approach should...
It can be used. It can be used.
Should be used in Borno State.
I'm not saying it should be used, but it can be used. When you are adopting policies, it does not mean you should copy from from cover to cover. It means that you are adopting a policy, you make it to work for the people of Nigeria, for the people of Borno State, and not that you are copying from one region to another. So it's a way of Nigeria saying, look, this is how we want to do things, and let's try it. If Nigeria has not tried it before, I won't be here encouraging the government to actually put it into use at this time.
Advice.
It has been done before, and I think it can be done again.
Well, I think the governor or president should adopt you as a security advisor.
And then make sure that you put an end to poverty in that part of the country, because once that is done, I think so many people joining the insurgency as we speak might not even think about it. If they can actually survive and of course feed their families, survive like a normal Nigerian will do. So that will put an end to insurgency in that part of the country. And that of course takes us away from this segment of the show this morning. We say a very big thank you for being a part of the show so far. Thank you for spending your money with us. And I want you to stay glued to your TV set as we will be taking you through so many other things this morning. Now remember that you can send your views and comments through our Facebook, Instagram, YouTube handles at Dominion Broadcast and on X at DominionCast to stay up to date with our biggest stories, because we want you to be a part of this conversation, which some of your comments will be brought to you in our Trend Watch segment. Now, let's join our news desk for Daybreak News. We'll be back with our segment on the show. Don't go away.
A very good morning to you. Welcome to Daybreak News on Dominion Television. I am Pat Ito. The Minister of Communications, Innovation and Digital Economy, Dr. Bosun Tijani, has revealed plans by the federal government to roll out a $2 billion fiber optic infrastructure nationwide, starting in the fourth quarter of 2025. Tijani disclosed this during an interview for an upcoming State House documentary marking President Tinubu's second-year anniversary. He said the initiative will be deployed over 90,000 kilometers nationwide, just as he disclosed that the digital sector has witnessed massive growth under President Bola Tinubu, attracting $191 billion in foreign direct investment in first quarter of 2024, with nine-fold increase from $22 million in first quarter of 2023. The Southeast Caucus of the House of Representatives has demanded the resignation of the Registrar of the Joint Admissions and Matriculation Board, JAMB, Professor Ishaq Oloyede, technical glitches in the conduct of the 2025 Unified Tertiary Matriculation Examination UTME. The leader of the caucus, Igruwe Enwer, in a statement issued, called for the immediate cancellation of the 2025 UTME and the fixing of a new date, preferably after WAEC and NACO exams, to ensure no student is disadvantaged. It also demanded the suspension of key officials responsible for JAMB's digital operations and logistics. The National Agency for Food and Drugs Administration and Control, NAFDAC, has clarified its stance regarding the nationwide ban on sachet alcohol. Kenneth Azikiwe, Director of FCT Directorate of the agency, informed newsmen that the temporary lifting of the ban was only valid until 31st of December 2025. He emphasized that the recent ministerial lifting of the ban was not permanent and urged the public to disregard misinformation suggesting that the government had permanently lifted the restriction. Local flights are set to resume operations by the end of the year 2025 at the Ladoke Akintola International Airport, Ibadan, Oyo State. This was announced in a statement released by the State Commissioner for Information and Orientation, Dr. Oyelade, explained that activities are in top gear to upgrade the airport to an international standard and will begin operations in 2026. The mortgagees of the Shaw ruling houses of Ogbomoso have kicked against the planned amendment bill to the Oyo State Council of Obas and Chiefs before the Oyo State House of Assembly that proposes to make the Alaafin of Oyo the permanent chairman of the Oyo State Council of Obas and Chiefs. In a statement signed by the five mortgagees, Prince Olawe Itabi, Prince Sikiru Oyeyola, Prince Amos Olawole Olaoye, Prince Samuel Oyebamiji Oyedeji, and Prince Stephen Ilufoye Layode, the move was described as an affront and not in consonance with history. It will be recalled that the Oyo State House of Assembly is considering a bill, Council of Obas and Chiefs Further Amendment Bill 2025, to make Alaafin permanent chairman of the council. The Lagos State government has revealed it will need in excess of 3 trillion naira to effectively address the growing threat of coastal erosion and safeguard shoreline communities vulnerable to environmental degradation. This was disclosed by the Commissioner for Waterfront Infrastructure Development, Ekundayo Alibiosu, during a ministerial press briefing held at the State Secretariat, Alausa, Ikeja. Alibiosu emphasized that the state is intensifying its deployment of drone technology, a proven coastal defense system designed to hold shoreline erosion. Away from Lagos to Edo State, while the Deputy Speaker of the Edo State House of Assembly, Mario Oligbe Edeko, has voluntarily resigned a position taken into consideration of the People's Democratic Party (PDP) new minority status in the 24-member 8th Assembly. Oligbe Edeko, who represents Eastern Northeast 2 and who was elected Deputy Speaker on the 16th of June 2023, stepped down to promote justice, fairness and equity among the state's constituencies. Following resignation of Samuel Atu of the All Progressives Congress APC representing Orio 1 East constituency, was elected as the new Deputy Speaker. And away from that, in business, the Central Bank of Nigeria (CBN) recorded a significant decline of 4.1 trillion naira in net loans and receivables in 2024, driven primarily by a reduction in its overdraft exposure to the federal government and changes across other loan categories. The most substantial adjustment came from the overdraft extended to the federal government and under Ways and Means provision. According to the Apex Bank's audited financial statement, net loans and receivables at the bank level dropped from 16.1 trillion naira in 2023 to 11.9 trillion naira in 2024. You can visit our website on www.dominion.org.ng to watch us live and interact with us. You can also follow us across our social media platforms: Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, and LinkedIn at Dominion Broadcast, and on X at Dominioncast. And that was the Daybreak News. Thank you so much for watching. I am Pat Aito. Good morning. All right, you're very much welcome back to Daybreak Live on Dominion Television, where we give you the best stories. And of course, it's your channel of choice. You don't have any choice about that. All right, we'll head straight to newspaper headlines, and of course, we'll analyze how it is to you this morning. Well, the first newspaper here is Nigerian Tribune with this big banner, Edu Bagudu Tijani rekindle hope in Nigeria's economy. We have this riders, capital market key to achieving 1 trillion naira economy. That's from the finance minister talking about Edu there, and economic reforms on course, budget minister tells World Bank. And digital economy attracted $191 million FDI in first quarter. That's coming from minister. And the last rider there, it says $2 billion fiber infrastructure roll out for fourth quarter. And that story is on page 6 and 7 of the Nigerian Tribune. And of course, we have this local government financial autonomy 1 year after Supreme Court judgment yet to be implemented. Page 15 of the same paper. And Konua Services released 50 billion naira earned allowance, not for ASU members alone. Now, that's on the page 3 of the Nigerian Tribune. Moving downward a bit, we have shadow government. DSS acted within bounds. Legal expert is saying that. Now, page 3 of the Nigerian Tribune. Away from that, we have this. Well, it's a good news. Ibadan Airport to begin international flight early next year. Oyo government is saying that, and Obi clarifies stance on 2027 coalition, says it remains a Labour Party. You can find that at page 16 of the Nigerian Tribune. Away, and the last story, from the front page of the Nigerian Tribune is National Constitution Summit. The Patriot Southwest delegates meets in Lagos. They'll meet in Lagos on Thursday, and that's on page 15. And the last story from the Nigerian Tribune here is Labour Party faction clash again. Away from the Nigerian Tribune, we'll head straight to leadership. And leadership comes with this big screaming headline: state of emergency on food security not yielding results. Stakeholders blame federal government approach, saying Nigeria slow in technology adoption. While trend world persists, African president and US, Netherlands, Brazil, others rate big. All that it's on page 4 of the leadership newspaper. And away from that, we have this. NBA directs branches to set up anti-graft committee. You find out on the leadership as well. Nasarawa gets 9.75 billion naira refund for airport. Still coming from leadership. And NITCOM facilitates Archer's daughter's return from Mali, and that's on page 6 of the leadership. And from the top part of the leadership, we have Dangote assures of petrol price stability. And the last part beside it, we have INEC unveils party's candidate for Anambra's poll. All that you can find on the leadership newspaper this morning. Just grab your copy. And away from leadership, we'll head straight to The Guardian. Bandit headers invasion put 40% of region food production at risk. Big one there. And we have this. US offers $10 million bounty for information ex-Ebola financial networks, and that's on page 5 of The Guardian. And 800 killed in 10 years as communal conflict threatens Niger Delta economy. That's on page 28 of The Guardian. Away from that, we have Benue Assembly speaker decries reps summon advocate training for lawmaker. and that's on page 29 of the same paper. We have this: through 2027, Obi set to declare presidential bid as Atiku explores ADC alliance. Page 6 of the Guardian. Down below the newspaper, the Guardian, is Akpoti Uduaghan petitions AGF over alleged defamation threat to life. That's on page 29 of the Guardian. Moving to the top part of the Guardian, we have this: El-Rufai alleges corruption among judges. Lawyers seek return of public trust. Beside it, we have your mandatory voting proposal unconstitutional. Falana tells NAS. You remember that story? If you do not vote, they'll fine you 100,000 naira. Falana is talking there. He said your mandatory voting proposal unconstitutional. And the last story from the Guardian this morning: NAV destroys 468 illegal refineries as expert profile oil theft solution. Oh, that's on page 3 of the Guardian. So grab the Guardian this morning to read more on the headlines. And away from that, we'll go to Blueprint, and Blueprint comes with this big one. Federal government unveils $2 billion fiber infrastructure. Digital economy attracts $191 million FDI, saying that with two riders, sectors contribution to GDP to rise from 16% to 22%. That's Tijani Bosun talking there. And how we seek to grow $1 trillion economy. Bagudu saying that as well. Away from that, we'll have, we never understood magnitudes of our refinery. Dangote is talking from the oil sector angle. And this again, 2027, Ohanaeze Southeast stakeholders endorse Tinubu for second term. And top part of the Blueprint, we have defunct FSB International Court judgment. That's from the banking sector. We have this: NACON expects feeding arrangement in Marca. The last one from there: NFF boss Guzo emerges WAF B president. And all that's from the Blueprints. There are some human story angle there. Man raped 6-year-old girl to death, remanded in Lagos. That's on page 9 of the Blueprint. And Lagos delivers 61 roads, 5 bridges in 1 year. Infrastructure. And AI cyber threat surge as Nigeria eye $27 billion digital boom. That's on page 21 of the Blueprint. Grab a copy of that to read more. And lastly, we'll bring you New Telegraph. The headline there says, federal government repatriated over 100,000 irregular migrants in 1 year, according to investigation. And rider, as NRS deploys e-border solutions, intensifies surveillance patrol. And from the New Telegraph comes the story: Western model democracy has failed in Nigeria. Agbakoba is saying that, and we have riders there. You can read more on that, and it's on page 2, 9, and 10. And we have 40 disused aircraft littered airports as operators shun repairs. That's a cost of what's it called? Costs to repair the airlines on the high side. To repair the airlines are on the high side. Well, we have this: bandit kill 9 persons, adopt several others in Katsina, and that's on page 28 and 29 of the New Telegraph. And from the New Telegraph, we have these: actress Jumoke George, trafficked daughter, returns from Mali. And from the New Telegraph, the economic sabotage. Navy acquires 3 vessels, 3 helicopters. It's on page 2. Beside that, we have despite federal government policies, communicable diseases still account for 30% death in Nigeria. Away from that, Falana is still talking about voting bill, declares it unconstitutional. And lastly, we have this Trump ceasefire talks between Russia, Ukraine to start. And that's all we have for you on the newspaper headlines. And of course, you can grab a new Telegraph to read more. Well, we're being joined by analysts. That's a person of Mr. Sam Nwoko. Mr. Sam joins us via Zoom this morning. A very good morning to you, Mr. Sam Nwoko.
Good morning, dear viewers. Morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Morning, guys in the studio.
How are you this morning?
I'm good.
Yes, I can see that.
How are you?
I'm okay. Thank you for asking. So we'll begin with a story from the Nigerian Tribune. We have Edun Bagudu Tijani rekindle hope on Nigeria's economy, with so much riders there. So let me just ask you now, how is this reform impacting foreign investors and investment and investor confidence? Can you hear me?
A few of the things that have been highlighted include the fact that revenue has come, our revenue now is way better than what it was, and everyone knows that this is as a result of the removal of fuel subsidy. And following the removal of fuel subsidy became more buoyant for the state, and refinery, which has become fully operational. And even though we do not understand what is going on between Dangote refinery and the federal government, by federal government I mean as represented by marketers.
Okay.
So it becomes also a positive step towards the economic recovery. I know the roof, small rough edges will be smoothened. However, the federal government is speaking as if they are still campaigning. We want policies that will immediately begin to yield results both in macro and microeconomic terms for the country. But I don't think this has been happening, and to a large extent, we know that the government has been trying to tell the Nigerians to calm down and see them through with what they are trying to do. So it becomes more like something for us to hope on. I understand also Tijani, I understand Edu and all the others. They have been giving us these figures long before now. We hope that in the near future, we are going to see these things come into proper manifestation.
All right. Still on the issue of Edun Bagudu to rekindle hope on Nigeria's economy, how do these reforms align with the renewed hope agenda of President Bola Tinubu?
Well, the renewed hope agenda, more like what they have told us is to renew hope in the presidency of Bola Ahmed. And we have. We have resigned to faith. We have nowhere to run to. But what we are saying is that if you are there, do not create the impression that you are in the same boat with us. Yes, we elected you to work for us. We elected you as people who go there, serve the nation, like the NYSC will say, under the sun or in the rain. But what Nigerians are seeing is a bit different from what I would say was promised. But the difference now is that the foundation being laid does not seem to align with the thoughts of the people. But the government is saying hope. There is hope, there is hope. And we agree. So it is aligning with our hope because it is hope. Hope is something intangible. It's something of the mind. It's something of the head. So if you tell me to renew hope, I will try to renew hope because I have no choice. And Nigerians are already stuck with that. So we are aligning our hopes with theirs, and as they are proposing all those things, we hope again, the word hope. We hope that by the time the policies get to maturity, Nigerians will be sane enough, Nigerians will be strong enough, and Nigerians will still be alive to enjoy these things they are all promising us.
Okay, as we are hoping, let me ask you this before we leave that particular headline. What is the projected timeline for these reforms to yield tangible benefit for Nigerians?
Unfortunately, the government has not stated any projected timeline. But as people who observe the goings on in the politics, we know that the government has a 4-year tenure, and after 4 years, Nigerians would do what we may refer to as an appraisal, and that appraisal will come by way of going to the polls to vote again. You know, so when you go to the polls and it happens that Nigerians decide to continue to keep faith with this administration and vote for it to continue, that's if Tinubu wants to continue. Fine, we go like that, go by that. If they do not, then it means that Nigerians are fed up with what is going on, and they would want a situation where they want to go with somebody else, whoever that might be. So 4 years seems to be the timeline, but the government is not talking as if they have 4 years. They are talking as if they have more than 4 years, and we cross our fingers and see how that would pan out.
All right, away from Nigerian Tribune, there's a big one from the leadership saying state of emergency on food security not yielding result. That shows that every action the government actually put in measure and not actually yielding positive result that Nigerians want. So I'm asking you, how has the government addressed the root causes of this food insecurity? Despite, how would they address this?
Food insecurity is, I want to believe it's the top item on the table of this government. By that, I mean that it is one problem Nigerians have cried out over for so long. You know, I remember when Tinubu came on board, I think it's a month or thereabout into his administration, he declared that he was going to, he declared this emergency on food and said the Nigerian armed forces will do something to secure farmers, will do something to ensure that those who go to farms return safely and so on. But all those seem to have been forgotten because it doesn't look like there was anything said about securing Nigerians who go to the farms. All the news coming from Benue, all the news coming from Borno now, all the news coming from other parts of the Northwest. Now we are talking about Yobe. Yobe has had its own. We are talking about Kebbi, the Zulu and other areas in that side. Borno particularly, Now, what does this mean? It means that the steps initiated by the government are not working. And food security remains a top priority, and it is so far not working. Speak with agri experts, get their opinion. You will find out that despite all the things that come from research, all the things that come from agri policies and so on, all these things are thwarted by insecurity. Farmers, crops being destroyed, even pilot crops, the ones they use to carry out experiments, are all destroyed, thereby rendering the season useless. Because if you don't plant now, it means you have to wait till the next planting season, except if there is serious irrigation.
All right,
there is nothing like that in this part of the country.
All right, let me just quickly.
Food security is a problem.
So, what's the current state of food and food inflation and availability now?
Well, it's still below par. It's still below par. Everyone knows this. When we talk in micro terms, micro terms in the sense that what you buy across the street, if you want to buy your rice, if you want to buy your if you want to buy your in micro terms, these things are not yet trickling down. And in macro terms, which is securing those who will provide this gari, this and so on. They are still not working. So as far as I'm concerned, it's still very below par. The government has not done well in this regard at all.
All right, let me quickly hear your thoughts on this. Your mandatory voting proposal unconstitutional. Falana tags NAS. Your view on that?
Thankfully, somebody they will believe has said it. You know, because we are not lawyers.
How sure are you that they will believe Falana?
We are not lawyers. Well, I know that a lot of people are also kicking against it in the National Assembly, and what it means is that they know the people who are some of those people who are with them, they know very well that part of the things that are in that bill kick against what the Constitution says. The Constitution leaves us with choice, and if I decide not to exercise this duty, the Constitution does not say if you do not vote, you have to be punished. No. So I don't know where that bill is coming from. I don't know its intention. You know, it's just like the Constitution. What lawyers tell you is that if the Constitution is silent on something, it then means that there is no way you can punish people for that thing. Same thing goes with the issue of shadow government.
All right.
Somebody says, okay, we are going to form a shadow government. Sorry. They are now kicking, and now you are forcing me to go and vote for me.
All right, Mr. Sam Nwoko, thank you so much for joining us on the program this morning. I mean, to analyze what the papers are saying, we so much appreciate you. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for having me.
All right, you do have a lovely day. Bye. All right, that's much we can take on the newspaper headlines and analysis this morning. Thank you so much for joining us. Big story is coming by. Oh, very soon. All right, stay tuned. It's still Daybreak Live on Dominion Television here in Ibadan. I am Pat Aito.
and welcome to The Big Story on Daybreak Live, your trusted window into the issues that shape our lives and our future. Today, we confront a paradox that's stirring heated debate across the country: inflation versus cost of living. While many Nigerians are grappling with rising food prices, transportation costs, and utility bills, the National Bureau of Statistics recently released a report that seems to paint a different picture. On that, many find difficult to reconcile with their daily realities. Is there a gap between data and lived experience? Or is it a case of misinterpretation or misplaced priorities? Stay with us as we unpack the numbers, questions, the narratives, and dig deeper into what NBS controversial report really means for the average Nigerian. The show is Daybreak Live on Dominion Television. Today, I won't be doing this alone. I have a guest in person of Dr. Segun Samson Olalere, who is an economist. But before I bring him on board, Richard Ashaolu has prepared something really interesting, sampling the opinion of Nigerians on the street of Ibadan. Let's take that.
Opinion. I'm not seeing any green lights. In my own opinion, I'm not seeing any green lights because things are costly and people are suffering in the country. So, to my own opinion, I'm not seeing any green lights for now.
They say the price of things are dropping. Let them go and check me whether it's actually dropping, because they say the bag of rice is 60,000 naira. I went to the market, it is not. They are deceiving us. So from what I'm seeing, I'm not sure that any moment from now that things will change. Things are not changing. They are making things miserable. So if I will compare, now is worst. Worst. The way forward is our government are corrupt until they flush all of them away and bring a neutral person in.
Before, egg was 25 naira pound one. Now, how much is egg pound one in your street? You answered me. How much is it in your own street? Egg is 250 pound one. Compare 25 naira. Before, you used 250 to buy how many egg? Almost half crate of egg. How much is cup of garri before? A cup of garri, how much is it before? How much is a cup of rice before? How much is a cup of beans before? How much is it now? Semo 1 kg. How much is it before? How much is it now? So put it beside each other and compare it. Which one is preferable? You know that the past is very much more preferable than now.
I think the governments are trying their best in fixing the economy. But even the citizen on their own parts wasn't the economy in terms of goods and commodities. Although there is no stable price for commodities of goods and services, but our people, I must confess to you, our people are not making life easy for the general citizen. Those that have old stock, take for instance, those that have old stock, the price they bought it and they will want to sell it at the current price. It will have negative effects on the economy and on the part of the citizen also.
That was Richard Ashaolu sampling the opinion of Nigerians on the city of Ibadan, on how they have been navigating, and of course, how to try to find out what the situation is in Nigeria as we speak. I have a guest this morning, Dr. Segun Samson Olalere. Good morning to you. Good morning, doctor. I hope you can hear me now. All right, looks like the audio on that end is not that clear. Okay, still talking about major concerns in Nigeria, which is the inflation. Nigerians have been finding it a little bit difficult to survive in recent times. What are the causes? Is this the removal of fuel subsidy? Or maybe the devaluation of Nigerian naira? Or the advices? gotten from the IMF, the World Bank, Nigeria has taken so many loans in recent times. To what extent has this affected the common man? To what extent has it affected the economy? And to what extent will it continue to affect Nigerians? We'll take statistics. We'll talk about facts. But then, the recent report by Nigeria's National Bureau of Statistics, NBS, on inflation and cost of living have sparked significant controversy. And cost of living have sparked significant controversy too, particularly following the rebasing of the Consumer Price Index, CPI, in early 2025. But of course, my guest is here again. Good morning to you, Doctor.
Good morning, please.
Good morning, sir. All right, I want to ask you this question this morning, talking about the cost of living versus inflation in Nigeria. To what extent has it affected, or let me ask you this, what are the major drivers of the current inflation in Nigeria?
It's unfortunate that the production level is very low. And where there is no production, definitely prices will rise. And that is the major problem. If people have refused to produce, if environment is not conducive for production also, there's no doubt in the fact that prices will definitely rise. Because the less product you have in the community or in the society or in the economy, the more the price. So I think what we should focus on is how to boost production. If production is boosted, definitely price will come down. So the major problem we'll have is lack of production. All right. In all areas, both industrial goods, talk of the food and all that, we have slacked in terms of production. And if the goods are not available, there's nothing you want to do. The few that is available, people will chip in on that to make more money. And as much as they increase the prices, inflation will continue to rise.
Now, talking about production, the economy is bad. Yes. Nigerians know this. Or then, how will manufacturing companies, especially MAN, Manufacturing Association of Nigeria, how do they stand to have a level playing field in a country like Nigeria when we are currently having this kind of situation? And then, how will we boost production if the economy is this bad?
Well, unfortunately, we will not look at it. We have to look at it from, we project backwards and look at it. Since when has this economy been dwindling? And what are we doing now to revamp it? You know, a lot of us just look at the now, we forget the past. A lot of things have gone wrong from the past, given this country and the economy itself. So if we now have a government that is trying either to revamp and make productivities high and make products available, we as Nigerians will have to be a little bit patient. You know, a country that has been in the down for more than 20, 15 years, all right, it will take another 10 to 15 years to be able to revamp. But you know, we are always very impatient in this country. It's unfortunate, all right? And if we are impatient, there's no way we can move forward. You see, the truth remains that in Nigeria, we have been living in luxury. We believe we have the luxury that we don't have. Put a local produced shoe against an imported shoe. Average Nigeria would prefer the imported. And by doing that, what we are doing is we are depleting production in this country. You know, we was looking west. But if our flair for imported goods is so high, definitely we cannot improve the economy to a very large extent. Employment will drop because such local production, production point will definitely close down. If there's no sales, you will close down. And these are things that we are not looking at. The luxury of average Nigerians is hitting seriously. Put your local rice production beside the imported Thailand rice. average Nigerian, no matter how poor, will say he prefers the Thailand rice. So all these are affecting us. We have to change our value system to a very large extent. We cannot place everything upon the government, that government. We ourselves, what do? Do you prefer an imported suit to a locally made suit? All these things are what is affecting the economy. So we have to change our mindset to a very large extent. That will also help the government to be able to improve on the economy so that things can move. For instance, we know that we are bereaved of our foreign exchange, but every Nigerian will prefer to import things. You know, and if you are importing, definitely the little foreign exchange you are earning is being depleted. You cannot revamp the production level of this country. Factories are closing down. Why would they not close down? Because even if they produce, you prefer the imported.
I was about to ask a question about how we got here, talking about the depreciation of Naira and the issue Nigeria has faced in recent times in terms of foreign exchange. And then going forward, these two things separately, how has it affected the spirit of production in Nigeria? And then how has it affected inflation in the country?
All right, unfortunately, how we are talking about how we got where we are today. Like I said, we'll have to look back. Unfortunately, since the incursion of the military, then this thing has started since the incursion of the military. When we had the civilian government too that we have, a lot have not changed because the same pattern, even because it's a class war, I must say it. It's a class war. You know, those who are making much from all this problem we are in do not want it to change. And that is the problem we are having, and that's why it has affected us. From beginning, all right, we must get to a point where everybody is ready to do some sacrifice. We've been making noise about this subsidy removal. And then people believe that even the subsidy removal have affected them economically and all that. But if you compare prices of these products, and that's the major product we have in this country, the crude, and then the petrol, and everybody uses it. All right? If you look at from beginning, I mean, if you look back, you know, we've been, like I said, we have been living in luxury. Compare your prices of the petroleum products, all the products, with other countries around us, with even international countries, foreign countries. You will discover and agree with me that we have been living in luxury.
But is the economy in the same state with that of Nigeria? Is the economy in those countries, are they in the same state with that of Nigeria as we speak?
No, unfortunately, because those ones, for instance, have used their resources in the past, all right, to improve their infrastructures, which we have lacked from the beginning, all right. So we might not be able to compare our economy with theirs because our economy has been dwindling because we have not taken the kind of action that we are expected to have taken before now. Those countries we are talking about, all right, they have, especially talking about the foreign countries, they have been improving on their infrastructures with the resources they have. But in this climb that we belong to, it is individuals enriching themselves once they find themselves in their position of leadership. And that has affected us to a very large extent. Don't forget the time that the economy was so good that even a leader was even saying that our problem is not money, we have to spend it. As at that period, we went ahead and hosted all African countries to First Tech and all that, rather than inputting that money in development of the infrastructures, because we felt we have so much. The next thing is for us to do festivals and all that. That will not improve economy. What will improve economy is improving and working on the infrastructure. Let the electricity be stable. Let productive sectors be active. All right, and you had the money then. but you decided on frivolities. And that has been the trend in this country. All other countries we are talking about, the first world countries, as they call them, they will prefer to input, all right, their resources into development, infrastructure and development. And now they can look back, all right, and annex what they have planted before now.
You have spoken so well about manufacturers in Nigeria. The Nigerians prefer to import rather than buy local products. I say I agree with you on that. But let me ask you this question. How do you think manufacturers in Nigeria have been doing it in recent times? They are quick to increase prices and not wages. Are they not complicit with the current economic woes in the country?
No, if you look at it, you see, because the infrastructure, all right, it's not there. An average manufacturer, average businessman want to make profit. All right. And then if you see an avenue, where you can increase your profit, you will go towards that. For instance, you start up a factory today, you want to produce locally, and you discover that policies overnight just change from the government. Right? It's either they said, okay, you cannot import these raw materials, you cannot get these raw materials, this is the way you go, and you have already inputted your money in building your factories and all of that, and then policy just somersaulted overnight. What do you do?
Well, I've been talking to Dr. Segun Samson Olalere, who is an economist and knows his onions when we talk about the economic situation in the country. I was asking him the question, Nigerian employers, manufacturers, they are quick to increase prices when situation warrants. But then, they are slow to increase wages when the government says the new minimum wage has arrived. What exactly is the problem? How do we intend to encourage Nigerians to buy locally, build a producing economy that is not reliant on imported products? Don't forget, countries like China, Japan, America, Russia, Korea, they depend so much on exported products. And who are the buyers? Africans, Nigerians. If you check e-commerce platforms all over the world, you find so many Nigerians buying and selling. They do not care. Exchange rates do not matter to them. As long as they can still exchange the money, they will prefer to import. What happens to Abubakar who makes shoes in your street? What happens to Kunle that makes other products you can easily buy in Nigeria? What happens to families who sell the same product you are importing from China? These are questions an average Nigerian must answer. But before we go deeper into that, let me take this particular one, which will enlighten you this morning, talking about the current situation of inflation in the country and, of course, the standard of living. We are still talking about that. But then, how do Nigerians intend to go forward as regards this? There are policy responses and socio-economic implications. In response to the economic challenges, minimum wage adjustments, the government proposed increasing the minimum wage from 30,000 naira to 60,000 naira. However, labor unions rejected this, arguing that it remains insufficient given the high cost of living. Dr. Segun Olalere is back. Welcome back. We are still talking about policies in Nigeria, and then how government policies have affected production in the country. Your take on this, negatively or positively?
Unfortunately, like I said, because the government itself, all right, it's either they've not gotten it right or deliberate act in order to boost the ego of those who are governing with them, who are their partners in this crime, you know. So policies somersault, and it's not good. Today you say, okay, we are closing our borders. Tomorrow you come back and say, okay, open all the borders. Today you say, okay, immigration has to be controlled. Tomorrow you say, just come in free. When you come in, we give you stay and all that. So all this affects productivity, all right? And that is the problem that we have in this country. Not until, and like I used to say, you see, what we are fighting is more of a class issue. It's the same class that is ruling. The middle class has been eroded seriously. So it's now a situation of the poor against the rich. Those who are high up and those who are down. And this has affected. You are talking about wages, increase in wages. Unfortunately, if the labor people will really get it right, it's not about wages. No matter how much you increase the wages, if there are nothing, put on ground that will mitigate your spending, there's no way we can go forward. For instance, if I have a good transport system in this country, I don't need to put my car on the road. If workers will fight for all this infrastructure, if the light is regular, I don't need to on my gen. I don't need to get inverter to power my house or my factory. So all these things are what I believe the labor people should be fighting for. If you are getting 30,000 and you know that what we will spend on transportation will be less than 2,000, even in a month, that will be better than you getting 60,000 and you use 30,000 to transport yourself, buying fuel and all that. So if the labor people, if we want to talk about the wages and then we want to talk about improving the economy, there are things we should hold the government responsible for. Let the energy sector be revamped. Many people will go back to all these artisan jobs that they are doing. The middle class can be built up. But when we are just talking about salary, when you look at the amount of people that earn salaries in this country, those that are privately driven are more. And those ones will not get salary. So when you get the increase in salary, you use it to feed those people. As you get your salary, they increase their prices. So the salary increase will just look like zero, like you have not gotten anything. The woman selling yam, in the market, knows that civil servants or those earning salary have earned salary. Where will she get her salary increase? She will increase her price. So you come back to the same level or lower than the level you used to be. So we must hold the government responsible what they should provide. Let them provide it. Infrastructural development, repair our roads. Let there be public transport that is viable. You know that if you leave your house, you get a public transport at a reduced cost because the roads are good and it's been moved by the government. The roads are good. There are transportation system, rail system, public transport, buses, and the rest. You will spend less, and then you have more to develop yourself and hold on to what you need.
All right, let me ask you this this morning. What strategies should businesses and individuals, households, adopt to cope with the current inflation rate in the country?
Like I've said before, we as individuals, we as community people must hold our government responsible. They came out with the idea that we are coming to serve, we are coming to improve. I will give you an example. Subsidies was removed on the petroleum product, especially petrol. The petrol we use more regularly. The federal government, that's the president, does not have power to spend that money alone. So money trickles down to the government, to the state government. It trickles down to the local government. Are we as citizens holding those ones responsible? When you get this, there's no state, I can say that categorically, after the removal of the subsidy, that is not getting as much as 5 billion naira excess. Yes, excess. From what they were getting before the subsidy removal. Are we holding the governors responsible to know what they do with that extra income? No. All we shout is the federal, the president is not doing it. The president cannot spend that return from the subsidy alone because there is a constitution that has told us how the money be split. Don't forget, there was a time there was wanted during Jonathan's time to create sovereign wealth where we can save money for the future. The governor stood up and said, no, they want their money. They have a right to their money. But they are being brought together, say, let's look at the future of this country. But they refuse. Now they are getting excess, all right, in terms of allocation. What is individual governors doing with that money? Are we responsible enough to ask them and to take them by their words? No, Nigerians are also docile to that. And this is affecting us seriously, creating inflation. All right, there is this insinuation, I'm not too sure, but there is this insinuation that once allocation comes, and we can test that anyway, what you discover is that in the sabos of this country, sabo is where they sell foreign currency. All right, you discover that the thing becomes scarce. The insinuation is that when allocations come, these people go mop up. And then where does the money go? Not to development, but to individual pocket. Are we taking them up on that? No. We are so docile. We will prefer to talk about the Abuja people, the presidency. Ask your governor, the money that he got in excess, given the subsidy removal, what is he doing with it? Ask the local government chairman, your allocation has improved so much. What have you done with it? We don't. And those are things that we should be doing as responsible citizens, to be able to hold those in power responsible for what they should do. You see, we have a system in this country, maybe African, maybe black. The value system is eroded. Once you are able to make it, you as an individual, you don't care about others. And that is not what helps development. We must look at the common goal that will improve the economy.
All right. Lastly, before you go this morning, what role can the informal sector play in navigating inflation in the country?
Well, informal sector has to reduce their greed to a very large extent. You know, most of the informal sectors, in business in particular, what we want is to maximize our profit. We don't even care if we are even impacting on the society, you know, and that's why you will go apply for foreign exchange rather than using it for what you want, you have applied to use it for, you divert to other things. And this has been affecting us, all right? That's why you have all these banks too. Banks will round trip. Rather than doing real business, they round trip. A genuine businessman cannot go to the bank and get loan for development of his factory or his productive sector, all right, at a very good rate. No, because the banks are there to exploit, to make profit. So this sector you are talking about, if we can cut our greed, all right, and then be ready to join hands with the government to improve the economy, things will change. It's not everything we put on the government. We can also impact on the development of the economy.
Okay, I want to take this very question. How can investors protect their assets during this inflation period?
Well, ironically, like I said, if investors really are investing in the right sector, it will be easy for them to even, because protection is recouping what you have inputted into your productive sector. You know, if we are ready also to cooperate and then be willing, really, and have that genuine intention that whatever we are doing, apart from the profit motive, we also have the motive of developing the place for future expansion. All right. So they also must be ready to cooperate with the government, be ready also to be part of the improvement of the economy. But if it is this self-centeredness and selfish nature of individual production, you want to maintain your level of profit, even though you know that things are not normal. You are not ready also to sacrifice anything. We shall continue in a vicious circle.
Okay, let me ask you this. What is your inflation forecast for the next 6 to 12 months?
Well, unfortunately, the economy itself is not stable. The leadership also, all right, cannot make anybody to make any reasonable forecast. You focus on a situation where you have a stable improvement. on economy, you have a stable way of growth that will help anybody to be able to focus. But a situation where the thing is undulating, it is difficult, to be able to make a prediction that will be acceptable or that will really work. Until we get to that point where we have the statistics, we don't have it. We have a lot of organization and all that, but are they doing the work? How many times have you seen a statistician from the Bureau of Statistics going out in the field collecting data that can help us to be able to focus? It's not there.
But they have been releasing data lately. They have been releasing data and they have been telling us that what percentage inflation is in the country.
Most of these data released are based on projection of what has been.
Are you saying Nigerians should not believe data released by the NPS?
I'm not saying that. You might believe what you want, but the truth remains there must be on the field data collection, and it should be regular. Maybe on quarterly basis review, not just sitting in the office and projecting. We do a lot of that in this country, and that's why the developed countries are better than us. You go out, maybe periodically, every 3 months, you want to look at what it is, and you use what you got on the field to project. That's not the case with us, except we want to deceive ourselves. I've been with the UNDP as a consultant for some time, and for long, that's where I left. And then I know what happens with our own statistics, the department, the Bureau of Statistics, and all that. We project based on maybe 10 years data that we have, we are projecting. And if we continue that way, there's no way we can really get it right. So things have to change from that. And
before we talk about the IMF this morning, let's talk about the real-world impact of cost of living. Despite the reported decline in inflation, many Nigerians face worsening cost of living crisis. Food prices, staple food items have seen significant price increase. For instance, the price of 50 kg bag of rice rose from 8,000 naira to 50 to 70, 80, and then it is where it is today. But then, talking about this, what role does loans taken by the federal government from IMF, from the World Bank, what role are they playing in the current inflation crisis we have in the country?
Unfortunately, the question we should ask is that, have we been deploying this loan to the direction that we applied for? All right? That has not been happening, except we are deceiving ourselves. If the money has been deployed, definitely those projects would have been achieved. And once such projects are achieved, definitely it will lower prices. Then there are other things we have to look at too. What have we done in the productive sector, like the agri sector, for instance? What you find today is that I live in Ibadan. When you move from Mania going towards the saying, going towards Taki, we have good lands where we can have agri production. But what do you find today? People buying that land, and then it's all estate. I don't know who will be living in Ibadan and go to Iseyin or between Mania and Iseyin to buy an estate. If that was deployed into agri production, we know what that would have impacted on our food inflation, for instance. People are not quick money is what people are looking for. Yeah, the villagers will sell land to you, then you say you want to build houses. There's nothing there if you go there, all right? And you cannot, those who are ready to even go into the agri sector cannot just go onto that land because somebody has bought it for estate. How many Nigerians, the mentality of Nigerians, average Nigerians is that I want to build my own house. Let me buy a land, all right, in the village and build my own house. We have not gotten to that point where, estate, we now take estate, we keep paying by mortgage. How many people have jobs that gives them regular income to pay through mortgage? And that's what we are looking at now, which is not right. The productive agree. If you can feed yourself, that's the truth. If a country can feed itself, the country can develop. In a situation where you depend on importation for ordinary feeding, then there's problem. And it is not that we don't have the good climate here in Nigeria. It's not as if we don't have the land in some areas. You know, there was this joint venture between Lagos and Kebbi State some time ago. Kebbi had the land, Lagos has the money, doesn't have the land. They were producing rice. Where is that policy today? You know, these are the things states can collaborate. Where you have comparative advantage against others, collaborate with those ones and then improve the productive sector of your economy. But not there. Everybody is so selfish and self-centered, and these things are not happening. In the Southwest here, in Oyo State, for instance, we have comparative advantage with regards to land.
Doctor, we have to go this morning. Doctor, unfortunately, we have to go this morning. Thank you so much for being a part of the show this morning, Doctor. Dr. Segun Samson Olalere is an economist, and with him we have done justice to this topic this morning. Thank you for being a part of the show. We do hope that next time we'll call you, you'll be here.
Definitely. It's a pleasure being with you. Thank you very much. Have a nice day.
Thank you, sir. And that's where we leave the big story for today on Daybreak Live. Inflation and the cost of living may be figures on paper for some, but for millions of Nigerians, they are lived struggles felt at the market, at the pump, and in the choices made every day. The NBS report has certainly sparked national conversation, but beyond the statistics lies a more urgent question. What will it take to bridge the gap between official data and the public reality? Thank you for joining us. Until next time, keep asking the hard questions and stay informed. The show is still Daybreak Live on Dominion Television, your channel of choice. Don't forget, you can be a part of the conversation by dropping your comments. Watch us live on YouTube at Dominion Broadcast. Do well to link up with us on all other social media platforms, Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok at Dominion Broadcast, and on X, formerly Twitter, at Dominion Cast. Let's go on a short break. When we return, Daybreak Sport with Boluwaji Ogumola is up. We'll be back.
Hello, and many thanks for joining us on Daybreak Sport. I'm Boluwaji Ogumola. Let's kickstart from the National Sport Festival this morning, where Oyo State contingent at the 22nd edition of the National Sport Festival Gateway Games Ogun 2024 made a strong mark with a series of impressive performances across various sports yesterday. Let me inform you that yesterday at the games, Folashade Rafiat Lawal, captain of Team Oyo, won 3 gold medals in the smash, clean and jack, and of course total in the weightlifting women 59 kg. Williams Grace also, as well as Hussein Bukola, won gold medal in the DAT 501 female doubles. Haruna Usman also won bronze medals in the Taekwondo men's event. Haruna Kudrat won bronze medals in the Taekwondo women's Pomse event. Haruna Usman and Haruna Kudrat won bronze medal in the Taekwondo Pomse pair event. Now, at the end of yesterday's event, I'm informed that the Honorable Yusuf Adebisi, the House Committee Chairman on Youth and Sport in the Oyo State House of Assembly, performed the symbolic presentation of instant cash award to athletes at the team's camp in Ileshan, Remo yesterday. Now, Team Oyo's medal haul is currently at 4 gold, 2 silver, and 3 bronze medals. Now, today, Oyo State's male cricket team will take on the field at the MK Abiola Stadium Cricket Pavilion for their ODI and T20 matches, aiming to further boost their the state's medal placement. Of course, away from the sport festival, let's talk about the NNL this morning, where Wiki Tourist head coach Abdullahi Maikaba is optimistic that his team will secure promotion to the Nigerian Premier Football League next season. Maikaba said with the quality of players in his team, they will achieve their target. Now, Wiki Tourist defeated Zamfara United 4-1 in their final group match of the regular season in Bauchi last Sunday. Now, the Bauchi Elephants are qualified for the NNL Super 8 playoff tournament after finishing top of their group. Now, Wiki Tourist, Barawa FC, Yobe Desa Stars, and Doma United are the 4 teams that have qualified for the playoff tournament. Now, the remaining 4 teams will be determined and, of course, be decided in the Southern Conference A and Conference B. Now, games are yet to end in those particular groups. Now, away from that, let's talk about the Under-20 AFCON, where Nigeria Under-20 national team captain Daniel Bameyi, of course, his spectacular performance at the just concluded CAF Under-20 AFCON, of course, been recognized by organizers, and of course, it was named among the tournament's best 11. Expectedly, the champions, South Africa's golden generation of rising stars, were handsomely rewarded for their triumph at the competition as CAF Technical Study Group, TSG, announced the official best 11 of the tournament. Newly crowned champion South Africa led the way with 4 players selected in the tournament's best 11, including standout goalkeeper Fletcher Lowe and playmaker Tylon Smith, who was also named the best player of the tournament. Now, South Africa's coach, as Raymond Mdaka, of course, was named the coach of the tournament. Away from the AFCON, Under-20 AFCON this morning, let's talk about the WAFU B. Yes, the news is that President of the Nigerian Football Federation, Alhaji Ibrahim Musa Gusau, was on Monday installed as the president of the West African Football Union Zone B. Gusau's installment, of course, followed the resignation of Mr. Court Edwin Simon Okrako, the president of the Ghana Football Association. He actually left the WAFU B #1 seat following his election into the executive committee of CAF 2 months ago. Gusau has been president of the NFF since the 30th of September 2022 and was the first vice president of WAFU B before his fresh elevation. I will say congratulations to our own Ibrahim Musa Gusau. Let's head straight to Europe, where Rangers forward Cyril Dessers has officially clinched the Golden Boot in the 2024-2025 Scottish Premiership season. Dessers netted once in his club's 2-2 draw with Hibernia last Saturday. The 30-year-old Nigerian finished the campaign with 18 goals from 35 league matches. Well, from Scotland, let's cross to Turkey this morning, where Galatasaray president Dursun Özbek has confirmed to the media that the Turkish Super League champions will hold talks with Super Eagles striker Victor Osimhen in the next couple of days. Özbek addressed the speculation surrounding Osimhen's future at the club in a recent statement. A Nigerian forward has scored 36 goals in 40 official matches for Galatasaray this season. Well, wait to see if Galatasaray has what it takes to keep our own Victor Osimhen at the Turkish club. From Turkey, let's head straight to Germany, where Bundesliga club Augsburg have bid Frank Onyeka farewell following the completion of his loan spell with the club. Onyeka joined the club on loan from Premier League club Brentford last summer. Now, there was no purchase option in the loan deal. And of course, the 27-year-old Nigerian, of course, played his last game for Augsburg against Union Berlin last weekend. Now, the club thanked the defensive midfielder with a message on the official X handle yesterday. Now, he made 31 league appearances for the club in the recently concluded Bundesliga season. Well, from Germany, let's head straight to the Premier League this morning, where Brighton and Hove Albion came from behind twice before substitute Jack Hitzenswood. His late goal actually secured a dramatic 3-2 victory for Brighton over champions Liverpool yesterday to boost their hopes of European qualification. all the way from the Premier League. And finally, this is coming from the Ballon d'Or this morning, where the organizers of the Ballon d'Or Award yesterday released the details for this year's event. The 2025 edition will hold on Monday, the 22nd of September 2025. The award, which honors the top footballers for the year in review, has been held since 1956. Now, new awards to be handed out this year include the Women's Copa Trophy, the Women's Yashin Trophy, and the Women's Gerd Muller Trophy. Well, the leading candidates in the most popular category, that's the men's Ballon d'Or, is Barcelona's captain, Rafinha, and Paris Saint-Germain winger, Ousmane Dembele. At least 100 journalists from big football countries will vote to determine the winner of this year's Ballon d'Or. Well, that's sports this lovely morning. Back to Samson and Part.
Hello, good morning once again. The show is still Daybreak Live on Dominion Television, and of course this segment is Trend Watch, where we'll bring you trending stories in the world of entertainment. Alright, together with Pat Aito this morning, we'll be doing justice to latest trends.
Yes, we'll begin with this one from Mercy Aigbe, saying, "My daughter once told me she was traumatized after remembering that I once hit a bucket in her head." That's coming from actress Mercy Aigbe. Well, once in a while, not this generation. I feel the older generation will understand what this means.
Actually, well, maybe because of the current situation now, parenting has actually evolved. It's a different dimension now. You don't get to see the kind of punishments children get to suffer back then. I used to remember times when, you know, your parents will actually tie you to the table, maybe tie you to the bed, so that you won't run away, you won't go anywhere, and then when they come back, then they come and feast on you, and it's the punishment you deserve.
There are a lot of punishments then that sometimes they will use eyes to communicate with you, and you won't understand what it means.
Especially when you go out with your parents, and then they're telling you, when you get there, don't hit, don't hit. I said, okay. But then when you get there, you realize there are different kinds of food. And then you are so hungry, and you feel like...
It sounds like Kodri.
Can I just have a bite?
A bite of the food, and you like, "Mommy, should I eat it?"
You
eat.
She won't even, you know, sometimes she might not talk.
No, she might not talk, and that look will be like, eat. But then, well, lots of reactions and speaking out the recent film premiere in Lagos, the 47-year-old reflected on her past as a single mother and how it shaped the way she raised Michelle. And 3 years ago, I had to send her an apology text and tweet this. Mercy said during an interview, "I told her, I am sorry. You might think the upbringing I gave you was hard. And yes, it was. I won't lie. it was harsh, but I raised a vessel for God.
Well, I think the daughter should actually look in the aspect that if Michelle actually saw a video of how her mother was actually raised, maybe she will have a rethink of being traumatized. You will know that being traumatized was actually, something really, rampant back then.
And she raised for that to say that she shared a painful memory that brought things into perspective. One day I called her and she didn't pick, and I had to call a friend who asked her to call me back when she finally did, blah, 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 blah. And Michelle said...
There are actually comments under that post, and those comments were actually... Mayor Organic said, this is me right now. As a single mom, you don't want to go off guard. You just want your children to turn out perfect, because if they don't turn out well, society will laugh at you. Well, it is well.
And also, I think there's another comment there, and that is coming from Diva Secret. Parenting has really changed, and we pray we do it rightly and not to raise traumatized children.
Well, there are other comments too that you feel like, well, I think this person is saying something right or not, but then eventually you realize parenting is something really, really important. Cecilia _ says that some parents will just use food as the apology.
So which one will you adopt if you are?
When your parents are done beating you and then they give you your favorite meal, that solves it in some cases, but in some it doesn't.
I understand the part you're coming from. You like food.
Well, maybe yes.
Well, away from that,
Dr. Joaba is in the news this morning as he's talked about the kind of advice we give to men and women, and he says oftentimes men are left out when it comes to giving them advice, and then he doesn't give advice to women anymore because he knows they have that in stock. Many people actually do that, but then as regards men, he has actually channeled his own energy into giving advice to men. So talking about him, I don't advise women because I believe African women get too much unsolicited and often unhelpful advice, while African men get too little. Nobody talks to the men about how to be good men, good sons, good husbands, good fathers, good brothers, good citizens.
And good everything.
Try to do that.
That one is good everything.
Actually, he's right.
We're actually saying somebody advising men. At least you people can be responsible a bit. For those people that are not responsible.
The truth of the matter is, oftentimes men get left out when it comes to how they are raised, actually. Because when you see most women actually want to raise the best daughter, while sometimes they look away, they feel the male child can actually navigate the waters by himself, whereas they don't know that they are raising a damaged son who in turn will go back and marry their well-trained daughter, and then everything becomes yam pepper scatter. So you don't want that for your child. So while raising your female child to be the best girl, the best mother, best wife, then learn to raise your child, your male children to also be good guys. So when they get married to someone else's daughter, they don't turn things upside down.
I think we have a comment underneath, and then someone is saying that's the Food Networking too, saying advise or not, women are getting wiser. Nobody wants to be a rehabilitation center. Nobody wants to be at the rehabilitation center for badly behaved men.
That's it. That sums it up, because women are actually tired of helping parents raise their children they failed to raise the proper way. And then we have another one from Fikun Ademi. Says, I agree. Women often receive excessive advice, much of it unhelpful, while men get too little guidance on their roles and behavior. Focusing on teaching men how to be responsible and respectful in all aspects of their life can improve relationships and society overall. His approach to advising men fills a crucial gap often overlooked, which is important.
That is important. So the way you raise your girl child, you need to raise your male child too. All right, and we have this one, Edmund_West, saying too many women are being sent to unprepared men.
Well, so in some cases you realize that some men are actually not prepared, and then when they get to meet someone else's daughter, they just they implode from inside, and then boom, everything becomes a mess. But then if they are well prepared, they know how to treat a lady right, knows how to talk to a lady, then when they actually get into relationship, then it becomes
let alone marriage.
Yeah, let alone marriage.
All right, away from that we will go. Comedian Ayo Makoni is talking here. You have always stayed true, avoiding distractions and influences. That's comedian A.Y. Makon celebrates a sister-in-law, Grace, on her birthday.
Well, the sister-in-law is actually the wife of the renowned designer who has been, doing a lot of things in recent times.
But I'm sure there are lots happening to the family that is well known to AY, comedian AY, and that's why he wrote that birthday.
Sometimes, even if you have issues within the family, celebrating them openly is one way to go to make sure that you bridge the gap. I think he's doing the right thing right now. Yomi Casual is also an household name, and AY too an household name. I think they should find a way to settle whatever disputes it is in the family, and if there is none, I think it's a good way to go, celebrating your people, because no one will help you celebrate them. It is your thing to do. At least
it's telling the lady, like, we all love you and you are part of us. Yeah. So there are comments underneath. And
let's see the comments.
All right.
So I am Chisom says, person no fit compliment another person without your linking it to another person. That says a lot, because a lot is happening and too many people don't know that a lot is happening there.
Okay, I am Chisom as helped. Away from that, we have this one, Ace_Food Limited. Just imagine, nobody talks about distraction when a man cheats, but when a woman walks away from everything that hurts her, she will be labeled as not staying true to herself. Some men and double standards now 5 and 6.
5 and 6, when you see 5, you see 6, most definitely. So it means that, when someone has double standard, she can be right.
Okay.
You want to eat your cake and have it, ill from your ex-wife and rest. That says it all. We didn't want to talk about what happened in the first place. We don't want
to talk about what happened. _Azomata. Don't help us.
You don't cast them. So it means that that's what was happening in the family, and they are saying you cannot eat your cake and still have it. So if you are trying to eat your cake and still having it at the same time,
so you're saying eat your cake, you want to eat cake.
Maybe you should have a little think about that, and that takes us away from this segment of the show this morning. And that was Trend Watch on Daybreak Live on Dominion Television, your channel of choice. Unfortunately, we have to wrap up the show. This will be the convenient time to draw the curtains on today's edition of Daybreak Live on Dominion Television. Samson Balogun is my name. I will say keep being good, keep being safe out there. Bye for now. Until tomorrow.
All right, thank you so much for joining us on today's edition of Daybreak Live on Dominion Television. This is a convenient place for us to say our BYA. Thank you so much for being part of us once again. I am Pat Aito. See you tomorrow.